Hello everyone, it's Marie and today I'm doing the very highly requested and extremely overdue online teaching FAQ/Q&A video. So ever since I started teaching online and talking about it in my digital nomad updates and on my channel, I've gotten so many questions frequently asked all the time about online teaching, varying from so many things like what kind of qualifications you might need, what the pay is, how you schedule your time, all that kind of stuff. So I thought I would go through all the questions that I get regularly and answer them in this video. So there's a lot of questions, so I'm just going to jump straight into it right now and get answering them. So in no particular order, the first question is, do I need a degree or a TEFL or any kinds of teaching qualifications to be an online English teacher? So the short answer to that is really that it does depend on the company you're applying to. I think that most popular teaching companies would require a degree, like a bachelor's degree or teaching experience. They don't usually require you to have like a TEFL or a TESOL. I don't have any formal teaching qualifications at all, so I don't have TESOL, TEFL, any of that. I do have a bachelor's degree. It's not all in teaching or in English or anything, it's in the arts. So I think my bachelor's degree might have supported my application, but at the same time I know some people working for the company I work for that don't have a bachelor's degree or a teaching qualification. So I think it totally depends on you as a person. My advice is just look up different companies, see what requirements they all ask for, and then apply to the ones that you think suit you. Also, even if you don't have the requirements they ask for, it doesn't mean you shouldn't apply anyway, because like I said, I know some people working for the company I work for, and although they say they'd like a basic requirement of a degree or a TEFL or something or experience, some people working for my company went to them without any of that. So I personally think a lot of things go into the application process. If you don't have a degree or a TESOL or any of that, I think that just use to your advantage what you do have. So do you have any experience working in a nursery or a play school, or have you ever put on workshops or done arts and crafts events with children, or have you been a sports coach or a fitness instructor? Anything that you might have done that's somehow related to teaching, working with children, you can definitely put that in your application and build your CV from that. So just because you don't have the exact qualifications they're asking for doesn't mean you still don't stand a chance. If you have very good speaking and written English skills and you have a big passion for teaching, you're good with children, I think they're more likely to take you on based on your merits as opposed to your qualifications. So honestly, I would just apply, try and do well in your interview and your demo and prove to them that you actually are a good teacher and that you're interested in it. Most teaching companies offer you training. Data ABC will give you a TESOL if you've been working with them for 6 months. So it totally depends. Some companies might pay a lot more and therefore they would require you to have a TESOL or a TEFL, but it totally depends. So I would just say research into different companies and apply for the one that you think suits you. So the next question is, I am a non-native English speaker, can I still teach English online? So I get this question quite a lot, and once again it does depend on the company. Some companies will only hire native English speakers, but I can tell you from my experience that it is not necessary to be a native English speaker to teach English. With the company that I work for, 51Talk, there are lots and lots of non-native English speakers. In fact, I was just doing some training to become a group lesson teacher, and a lot of the teachers in the training were non-native. So yes, you absolutely can be. You just have to be confident in your skills, be good at speaking it, and just apply for the companies that are happy to accept non-natives. So definitely give it a go and apply to 51Talk. My referral link is down there. I know that they do hire some non-natives, so definitely just give it a go and see what happens. So the next question is, how much does it pay? So once again, this totally depends on the company and also on your skills and experience. So when I first started working with 51Talk, they paid me $5 per lesson. Each lesson is 25 minutes long, so that is $10 per hour. But at the same time, some people started off on $750 per lesson, some even $9 per lesson. So I think it varies roughly between like $10 an hour and $30 an hour, depending on your skills, experience, and depending on the company. So I've recently just been accepted as a group lesson teacher, so now I'm being paid more. I'm being paid like $18 an hour now to teach. So most teaching companies will increase your pay as you progress as a teacher with them. And I know some companies like Data ABC, I think they start you at between $15 and $25 per hour. So there definitely are some pretty well paid teaching jobs. It is enough to survive, and as I said, you can definitely progress through the ranks and you could probably earn a pretty good amount after a while of doing online teaching. The next question is, do you get paid per lesson or per hour? So I get paid per lesson, but definitely there are some companies that will pay you per hour. Data ABC will pay you hourly, I think. and they also contract you to a certain amount of hours, so it really does depend on the company, but for me, I get paid per lesson. Is it realistic to do 10 lessons a day, and is it sustainable? So I think you're asking, will there be consistent work? Is it possible to do like 10 lessons in one day? So I can't obviously speak for all teaching companies. I know there are some that may only give you 2 or 3 hours a day, but for 5-1 Talk, yes, absolutely. So sometimes I'll open up like 14 slots a day, and I can guarantee I will always be fully booked. So usually I can work anywhere between 8 AM to 5 PM European time, and I know that I will be fully booked during that time. So normally there are peak hours for teaching companies, so I work with children and students in China, so I'm normally working to like China evenings and weekends, so for me that would be daytime hours. So as long as I work within the peak hours, and there's usually quite a large span for the peak hours, I'll absolutely get fully booked. So when I first started out, I definitely wasn't always fully booked, but now I can guarantee that if I open up, say, 7 hours of teaching every day for 5 days, I will be fully booked every day for 5 days. So I can absolutely guarantee that I'll be doing 35, 40 hours a week if I wanted to do. So yes, in my experience, it's absolutely sustainable, but obviously I can't speak on behalf of all teaching companies. So the next question is, do you get paid in US dollars? Yes, I do get paid in US dollars, but there are some companies that pay you maybe in British pounds. Just depends on the company. So, but I think it's quite common to mostly be paid in US dollars. This question is there much class preparation to be done before each class? So the answer to that is no. There's not really any preparation before the class. You don't have to prepare your teaching materials or anything. All of that is prepared by the company, so whenever I have a class with a student, the textbook, all the lesson plan we're going to be doing is all provided to me. So if you're new to the company and you're unfamiliar with how they work, obviously it makes sense to kind of do a little bit of preparation, maybe 5-10 minutes before each class, to kind of get yourself familiar and acquainted with what you're going to be teaching if you're unsure. And also, sometimes if you're teaching something that requires some props, it's good to kind of get props together before the class. But for me, I've been working with 5-1 Talk for quite a lot of months now, so I don't need to do any prior preparation, because I have pretty much taught most lesson materials at least twice, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 40, 50 times over, so I'm really comfortable with what we're teaching, so I know what kind of things come up all the time, so I no longer need to do any preparation. But I'm sure if you're new to the company, it's a good idea to do some sort of research and just get to know how it all works and how the class flow goes. So I'll show you quickly what I do prep before each class. So all I have is a few flashcards, and I just have these with me before every class, so I don't really have to go out of my way to prepare them because I always have them on me. So I've just got, you know, little flashcards like butterflies and, you know, flowers and like a pig, for example, you know, just flashcards that might help the kids with the things we're learning. For example, if we're learning about cats, I'll be like, look, it's one cat. Or if we're learning about the colour pink, I can be like, it's pink, it's a pink pig, you know, things like that. Or ask what colour the butterfly wings are, things like that. So I usually just use these cards to help with colours and shapes and even numbers. I'll get them to count them and stuff. And I also just have a little finger puppet too, which is like a little monkey, because we have a monkey mascot with the company I work for, so monkey's always useful too. But apart from that, I don't need to do much preparation, because you can also use a lot of things that are around you. So if I'm teaching right now and the colour purple comes up, I can just show them my phone and say, look, it's purple. Or if we're learning about circles, I can just show them my bottle and say, look, it's a circle. So there's lots of ways you can improvise and use different props from around you. But overall, there's not a lot of preparation that needs to go in place. It's totally up to you how much you do and don't do. I'd say just be prepared and make sure you know what you're doing. That's the most important thing. So the next question is income tax complex? How do you do your taxes? So this is a really iffy one, because it depends on the country you live in, really. So if I was based in the UK and living in the UK full time, I would do exactly the same thing as I did if I was normally self-employed. So this would be usually considered self-employed income. And you would submit it in your self-assessment to HMRC every year, you know, in your tax return. So you treat it like self-employed income. So basically you just have to figure out what your country requires for self-employed income, and you would obviously have to declare it as income in whatever way your country required you to. So for me it's a little bit different, because I'm living more nomadic and I am traveling around now. So basically what I have to do is I have to see what country I'm in at the time and see what the country that I'm in requires me to do in terms of tax. It depends what country you're from. You would have to figure out how that all works where you're from, but In my case, I'm doing things obviously differently because I'm not living anywhere, so I have to just basically see what country I'm in, for how long, and see if I'm required to pay any taxes or submit anything to that individual country. So it's a bit complicated for me as a digital nomad, and I still aren't 100% sure what I have to do, but all I can do is go by what HMRC in my country have told me to do, basically. But in terms of what your country you live in, you have to basically find out what you're required to do in terms of your country. Unfortunately, I can't really give you any help, but the short answer is you still have to declare it. It is self-employed work. It's a difficult subject. Income tax is always difficult. I would always say speak to the experts, so talk to an accountant or someone that you know knows about this kind of stuff. It's something that you have to do right because you don't want to, do your taxes wrong and get in trouble, so definitely make sure that you're speaking to someone, who is a professional and knows what they're talking about in terms of tax. I really can't give you tax advice, I'm really sorry. But I hope that I give you some sort of information you can take from that. Okay, so the next question is, do you teach with an online company or do you find your own clients? So yes, I teach with a company. I don't find any of my own clients. I would probably be interested in finding my own clients to do conversational English lessons, but I think it would be too much work to find my own clients and teach them a curriculum and get workbooks and everything together. So right now I just teach with a company and I'm very happy doing so. I don't really want to get my own clients or anything, but that's definitely an option if it's something you're interested in. And the next question is, how flexible is your schedule? So do I get to choose when I work, that kind of stuff? So once again, depends on the company. So with 51Talk, who I work for, they are so flexible. I'm so lucky. They give you a very basic small requirement of hours per week, and it's absolutely sustainable for a digital nomad who's up and going everywhere. I think I only have to do something like 6 hours every 2 weeks. That's what I'm required to do. So it's very easy to stick to. And at the same time, I have so much flexibility. So for me to book my classes, I'll log into my teacher profile and I basically just open the time slots that I want to teach. So if I wanted to work between 6 AM and 2 PM on Friday, I would open up all the slots at all the times I want to teach, and I'd schedule when I want to have a break and stuff. Then a student would come and book in with me based on when I'm available. So I'm really flexible. I can work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday if I want, then take Thursday off, then work Friday, Saturday if I want, or I could take a whole week off and then work 7 days straight the next week. I have total flexibility and I can work anytime that I want. It's totally my choice. So 51Talk are extremely flexible. But as I mentioned in a digital nomad update, which I'll link here, I was accepted with the teaching company Data ABC, and I had to decline them because they are a little less flexible. They're great if you are stationed somewhere, but if you're jumping around, you need a bit more flexibility, they're not really suitable for me. So with Data ABC, they'll schedule you to a certain amount of hours per week, and you have to stick to the same day and times every single week. So for me, that was too rigid, but it depends on what you want. If you want a rigid schedule, maybe Data ABC would be the best company for you. If you want all that crazy flexibility like I have, 51Talk is probably the best company for you. So the next question is, who chooses your schedule? So like I just said, I totally choose my schedule. Some companies require you to submit a schedule in advance. Some companies give you a schedule, but for 51Talk, they let you completely choose your own schedule. So the next question is, can you change or cancel lessons? So if I've opened up lesson slots and they've not been booked in by a student yet, then I can just close them and it's up to me when I open and close slots. If a student has already booked in to teach with me and I'm already kind of scheduled to teach that student, you can cancel the lessons, but I don't think they like to encourage you to do that because you've already, the student is already expecting you to be their teacher, and it's not very professional to cancel on a student, even if it is a few days in advance. So I don't think any teaching companies like it when a teacher will cancel on a student. If I wanted to cancel, and I have had to in the past for certain reasons like internet, going out, stuff like that, I have had to cancel, but teaching companies don't normally like it. So what I would have to do is I have to talk to my HR department, and I'd basically have to get them to pass my students on to another teacher, and a lot of the time you incur some sort of penalty charge, like maybe $2 or $3 per lesson for cancelling. So it's not really good to cancel lessons on students, but if there is a dire emergency or your power goes out, yes, you can obviously cancel them. That's not a problem. The next question is, how many people do you teach? So if you mean how many people do I teach in a class, my classes with 51Talk are one-on-one. But as I said, I've just been accepted also as a group teacher, so for that I'll be teaching between 20 and 100 students at once. If you mean as a whole, I couldn't tell you, I think I teach hundreds and hundreds of students. Some of my students are regular and I see them all the time. Some of them they just come and go, and I just get new ones all the time. So I couldn't tell you how many I teach, but I think it's a lot. The next question is, do you choose how to teach or do you have a plan? So with most teaching companies, they will want you to work to their kind of standards. So they'll give you training on how to run the lessons to their style and their standards and just their kind of curriculum. So obviously there's definitely a teaching plan, you know, the warm-up, the reading style, how to do the activities and stuff like that. There's definitely you definitely want to be working with the same kind of branding as the company that you work with, so they definitely have their own kind of ways they want you to work, but at the same time you definitely can improvise and have fun and put your own personality into lessons too, as long as you stick with their general teaching style and you don't deviate and teach them something that the lesson isn't about. So obviously if you're supposed to teach the children about animals one day and then you end up teaching them about volcanoes and spaceships, I don't think that's a very good idea. You've got to obviously stick with the lesson structure and the lesson plan, but you can definitely have fun and put your own personality into it, if that makes sense. So the next question is, what test is required to teach? So I mentioned earlier about what is the requirements to be a teacher, but if you mean what kind of tests you have to pass to be accepted as a teacher, then normally you'll have an interview and then you'll have some training and then you'll have to do a demo. Sometimes you'll do a demo with a real child, sometimes it'll be with a tutor who's judging you, and normally as long as you can pass your demo then you can be accepted to be a teacher. So that's pretty much the way it goes. Interviews, demos, and then you get accepted. The last question is, how do you teach? So I think that how do you teach is a really kind of broad question. So if you mean like generally how does it work, I'll go on the website, I'll open up slots, schedule a class, and then the student will book in with me, and then I'll teach a class with them, and then it ends. I'll just leave them a quick little lesson memo telling them what to work on, and then I'll go to the next class. So most classes are back to back, so I'll do a 25-minute lesson, I'll have about a 3-minute break, then I'll have another 25-minute lesson, about a 3-minute break, and it goes like that until I have my breaks. So normally I'll give myself like a half-hour lunch. Sometimes I give myself an hour break if I want to do something and go do some exercise or something, or go to the shop. So yeah, that's basically how it works when I have a day-to-day of teaching. I'll usually start at like 8 in the morning or 9 in the morning, sometimes 10, depending on what time I want to start that day. And then I'll have a break for lunch, and then I will kind of teach until the evening, and I'll probably finish around anywhere between 4 and 6 p.m, depending on what time I want to finish. Sometimes I finish at 2 if I want to go out that day, so it's totally up to me when I schedule myself to work, but that's pretty much how it works from day to day. So in terms of how I physically teach, I want to make a totally different video on that because I think that it's such a big thing to talk about. I don't think I could possibly fit it into a small FAQ video like this. If I did, it would probably be like an hour-long video. So I'm going to answer that question in another video. So definitely keep a watch out for that, probably in the next couple of weeks. Recently in that video, I'll talk about, you know, how I use the props, how I teach like young children versus adults, and how I deal with maybe difficult children. Maybe you want to know more about using TPR or being enthusiastic, or how to incorporate props, or how to teach children interesting subjects or whatever. So if there's any kind of tips or advice you'd like about any of that stuff, just leave a comment below and I will make some more videos, maybe a video talking about interview tips, application tips, or even, you know, how to teach, that kind of stuff. So if you want to see that kind of video, definitely leave a comment below, let me know what you want to see, and I'll absolutely make sure I make videos talking about that. But shh, sorry, I'm dog sitting right now and the dog is being loud. She's running all over the grass. Yeah, so anyway, like I said, when you start teaching for a company, they'll give you training, so they will teach you how to teach. They're not expecting you to be like a fully experienced teacher. Usually when you start with a company, they'll give you like 2 days of training, and then you'll get continual training throughout your time working with them. So they don't just like jump you in the deep end and expect you to know everything. They will normally give you training before they even give you an interview or demo. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind. But if there's anything you want to know in particular you want me to make a separate video on, leave the comment below and I'll absolutely try and get it done for you as soon as possible. So yeah, I'm going to end this video here. I really hope that it was helpful for you and that you enjoyed watching it. Definitely give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, please, and don't forget to subscribe below so that you can follow the journey of traveling, working online teaching, minimalism, all the kind of stuff that I talk about on my channel. So thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that it was helpful to you in some way, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.